All right, here we are in the last heading of Chapter 36, Nationalism and Political Identities in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. This heading focuses on Latin America, and specifically Latin America struggling with neocolonialism. The first subheading says the impact of the Great War and the Great Depression. Easiest way to answer that is the impact of the Great War and the Great Depression is that socialist and communist ideals became more palatable and more persuasive to people throughout Latin America during this time period. No government is going to be taken over and become socialist or communist yet, but the ideas that Lenin and others had espoused make a lot of sense to the people of Latin America. Again, they had been exploited for hundreds of years before this time period, and so they understand capitalism exploiting natural resources. They understand it exploiting workers, and so they're looking for something else to become independent on their own. One of the places where these ideas start to get the first original play is going to be in universities. Okay, and so what's going to end up happening is as they learn about the Mexican and Russian revolutions, other Latin American countries want to have their own reforms as well. One of the most important leaders to really be formed at this time is Fidel Castro, who not now but later will end up leading a communist takeover of Cuba. The other thing that happened is Peru. We start to see some political parties start to rise up that want to espouse these ideas. Jose Carlos Maria Tigué. I apologize. I've tried to pronounce it a few times, and I apologize that I mispronounced that. He was a big believer in socialism and communism. He's going to help to form a party to espouse those ideas, and he's going to die relatively young at 35. The other political party that comes up here is La APRA, the Alliance of Popular Revolutionaries throughout the Americas. So the original idea was for it to be a political party to kind of unite a lot of different political parties throughout Latin America. That doesn't really happen, but it becomes a strong force in Peruvian politics. So one of the interesting things is that even though it's like a social democratic party, Haya de la Torre, who is the founder of the party, actually really wanted to find a way to create a new path that is going to create a middle class from the peasants and the workers. So it's very both communism and this La APRA party are going to be very focused on the needs of the indigenous people and the common people who are working away. And so these are some of the ideas that are being played with during this time period. Another really interesting part of this time period is Diego Rivera, who's a very important artist, who is going to he's going to be both a Cubist painter, but then he's also going to have a lot of influences from indigenous Mexican art, pre-Columbian folk traditions, so on and so forth. And his work is going to be incredible. He's going to make a lot of paintings and murals, and as you can see, they are going to be pretty spectacular. So his murals, again, the one that your book talks about, this is the Man at a Crossroads that was in Rockefeller Center. Your book talks about how Rockefeller asked him to make a mural for his big center in New York City, and so he does so, but he puts this guy, Lenin, right in the midst of it. So, and he refuses to take him out, so they take the mural down. So he has a lot of revolutionary imagery. He also has a lot of folk, very clear folk influences. A lot of his work can seem relatively rudimentary, but there's always, often, there's lots of colors and movement, which are very much seen throughout this. Some of the themes that he continuously brings up over and over again is revolution and the plight of the indigenous people and the difficulties they're having to go through. So also several of his murals are incredibly large and they're incredibly intricate. So the drawing itself is rather rudimentary, but the imagery is just completely packed in them, and there's so many little stories in all of the murals that he made. And with that, that is the first part of chapter 36.